Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings for Friday, November the 3rd. We do have a mid-sized slate for Friday night, guys. 7 games. This feels like the first mid-sized slate we've had like all season. I feel like it's just been like a massive slate or like a really small slate. We got a 7-game slate for Friday night. We're going to go game by game, guys, give you a quick preview of this 7-game slate, what I do like, taking a first look on Thursday night. But before we do get started with the breakdown, as always, if you guys do enjoy these DFS videos, if they help you out, make sure you hit that like button down below, guys. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to the channel and if you have never checked out PrizePicks before, we are partnered up with PrizePicks. You guys can sign up for PrizePicks, linked down below in the description. Or just when you sign up, make sure to use promo code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up for PrizePicks with my promo code. And for those of you that don't know what PrizePicks is, they are a player prop site focused on player projections. You're just picking more or less on player projections. It is that simple. You can see, since I'm making this video on Thursday, they have stuff up for Thursday night's games. They don't have any props up yet for Friday, but they'll probably get those posted, sometime late Thursday night. Take a look at the board, see if there's any props that stand out to you. And again, you're just picking more or less on a player's projection. That's simple. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 6 picks on PrizePicks. You can win up to 25x your money. And PrizePicks does offer a lot of sports. I know this is an NBA video. I'm sure most of you guys follow the NBA, but they have NFL, they have NHL, college football, ton of stuff on PrizePicks. So take a look at their board, see if there's anything you like. And again, before you guys sign up for PrizePicks, make sure to use that promo code NOAH so you do get your first deposit matched up to $100. But let's go ahead and talk through this slate for Friday night. We'll start off with the first game of the night, the Cavs and the Pacers. We'll start off on the Cleveland side. There are some injuries we do need to monitor for Cleveland today. Darius Garland and Jared Allen are both questionable. They've been out like the last 3 games. Maybe they return here. We'll have to see. If Garland and Allen return, that's obviously going to hurt everyone. It's going to hurt Donovan Mitchell. It's going to hurt Evan Mobley, Karis LeVert. All these guys are going to get I would say at their price tags, pretty much all these guys are going to be like out of play. It's just hard to pay $10K for Donovan Mitchell when the team is fully healthy. It's hard to pay $8,100 for Evan Mobley when the team's fully healthy. But we just don't have the news yet for Garland and Allen, so we just kind of have to make assumptions. I would say that if Garland and Allen both play, I really don't have interest in any Cavs, which kind of scares me because this is such a good spot against Indiana. Indiana been one of the fastest paced teams in the league. I think Indiana is going to be a really bad defensive team as well. So I feel like somebody from Cleveland is going to do well today, but the only issue is just these price tags. Again, $10K for Mitchell, over $8K for Mobley. Maybe Garland at $7,600 I could see playing, assuming he's fully healthy and not limited or anything. I could maybe see going to him. But like LeVert's overpriced now. If we assume Garland's back, Max Strus is way overpriced. If we assume Garland's back, maybe Jared Allen at $6K you could play. I mean, this is a pretty good matchup for him. Don't know yet if he does play, if he's going to be like on a minutes limit or anything. We don't have any information on that yet. I think if Jared Allen is fully healthy and not limited, I mean, $6K Jared Allen, I don't mind going to. But right now, it's kind of a wait and see for Cleveland. It's a great matchup here against Indiana, but we gotta know the status of Garland and Allen before we dive too deep into this team. If both those guys remain out, then I'm fine going to Mitchell. I'm fine going to Mobley. Those are probably the only 2 guys I'd go to on Cleveland. I don't really have a ton of interest in LeVert or Strus. Both those guys over $6K. So yeah, that's kind of my breakdown of Cleveland. Now let's take a look at the Indiana side. And for the Pacers, we got some big news here to monitor as well with Tyrese Halliburton's status up in the air. Halliburton was questionable last game, did not play. Questionable again for today. If Halliburton does play, I think this matchup against Cleveland is not like terrible. I mean, Cleveland defensively has not like been that great this season. I think they've actually been a pretty good matchup for point guards going up against Cleveland. I think Cleveland has given up a lot of fantasy points to point guards so far this season. So I don't mind Halliburton and GBPs if he's able to play here. And obviously, assuming he's full go. If Halliburton remains out, that's just going to kind of benefit everyone a little bit. Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, Bruce Brown, Benedict Mathurin. I think all these guys get a little bit of a boost. I think Andrew Nembhard would be the guy that gets the biggest boost if there is no Halliburton. Nembhard did start at point guard last game, but you can't really look too much in the last game because they got destroyed by the Celtics. Nembhard only played 20 minutes. He didn't get any garbage time run. If we assume Halliburton's out again, I think Nembhard's going to start and play over 30 minutes if this game is competitive, which at home, I think Indiana probably keeps this game competitive. So I would like Nembhard at $5K, assuming there is no Halliburton. You did see TJ McConnell do really well last game, but he got a lot of his production in garbage time. At 5,200, I don't really have any interest in McConnell, assuming he comes off the bench again. If they change up the starting lineup and if they start McConnell in place of Halliburton, then yeah, that would obviously change things, but I don't think that's going to happen. So those are the guys that get the biggest boost without Halliburton. Turner, Hield, Brown, Mathurin, these guys are all playable, I think, if Halliburton's out, but none of them would be like standout options. So I think that's pretty much it for the Pacers. I think we kind of talked about everything here. So let's move on to the next game, the Knicks and the Bucks. So looking at the Knicks today, another key piece of injury news to monitor for the Knicks. RJ Barrett listed as questionable for this game. With RJ Barrett out last game, we did see Josh Hart draw the start. Josh Hart played 29 minutes, had 25 DraftKings points. Hart has never been a super high ceiling player, but he does have a pretty solid floor just with how he can contribute in all categories. At only 4,700, if Josh Hart does start again, I think he's going to project out as a pretty good value play today. So I would like Josh Hart if Barrett remains out. And I think if Barrett does remain out, that is a little bump up for Randall and Brunson. At their price tags, I don't think either one of them would be like standout plays, but I think they would at least be viable if Barrett's out again. If Barrett plays, I don't have a ton of interest in really any Knicks on this slate. Milwaukee defensively has not been great this season, and I think Milwaukee's defense is definitely going to be a lot worse without Drew Holiday. So I don't think this matchup is that bad for these Knicks guys. But their price tags, are appropriate here. None of them stand out as core options at their salaries. I definitely think my favorite play from the Knicks, assuming no Barrett, would be Josh Hart. And I know Dante DiVincenzo had a really big game last game off the bench. Maybe he gets a boost without Barrett. He's playable, revenge game as well. But I definitely would rather go to Hart there. I think that'll do it for the Knicks. Let's talk about the Bucks now. So for the Bucks here, it's a tough team to really want to get a ton of exposure to. The Bucks offensively have not been great this season. Giannis has really not shown a ton of fantasy upside. We haven't seen that massive ceiling game yet from Giannis. Now, sure, Giannis can go out there and put up 70, 80 DraftKings points any night. We just haven't seen that yet from him. Maybe this is the game where that finally happens. Obviously, you can pay up for Giannis. He is someone that I think is always in play. But I'd be a little bit hesitant on Giannis. I just think I think playing with Dame is definitely hurting his ceiling a little bit. And then Dame, on the other hand, he's not been great offensively. He's only had really one big game, and that was in their season opener against the Sixers. Other than that, he's struggled shooting the ball. Last game against Toronto, he only shot the ball 9 times. The volume's kind of been down for him as well. Clearly, Dame, at least right now, maybe things will change later in the season, but clearly Dame is losing fantasy value playing with Giannis. Dame's a great player, can put up a huge game any night, but I think at 9,400, he's priced correctly today. I don't have a ton of interest in Dame at his salary. Chris Middleton's been limited, this season. I don't really want to go to him at 6,100. Brook Lopez is someone that I really never play. At 5,600, I think he's playable, but I don't really like many Bucks here. This Bucks team, on this slate, I just don't think I'm going to go to many guys on this team. If I had to play anyone on the Bucks, I would say Giannis is my favorite play. But let's move on to the next game, Brooklyn and Chicago. So for Brooklyn, they're another one of these teams that's really shorthanded right now. No Nick Claxton, no Cam Johnson, and Spencer Dinwiddie is questionable. Dinwiddie was doubtful last game, did not play. We'll have to see if Dinwiddie plays today. If Dinwiddie remains out, I think you're going to see a boost for Mikal Bridges, for Cam Thomas, for Ben Simmons. We did see Lonnie Walker get a good amount of playing time off the bench last game, 25 minutes. He's been pretty good off the bench the last few games, but I feel like at his price tag of 5,300, I would be fine just shying away from Lonnie Walker at this salary. If I'm going to play anyone on the Nets, I'm going to be looking at the top 3 guys here, Mikal, Cam Thomas, and Ben Simmons. Mikal, we know he's going to have a big role, going to play a ton of minutes as long as the game's competitive. At 8K, I think Mikal's fine here. I wouldn't say he's a priority, but I think he's playable. Cam Thomas had a down game last game after going nuclear the first 3 games of the season. There's a couple positives, though, to take away from that performance. At least, I wouldn't say positives, but he shot 4 for 19. Obviously, it's going to be hard to have a good fantasy game when you shoot 4 for 19. But the positive is that he still shot the ball 19 times. He is just shooting the ball a ton right now. He is still playing a ton of minutes. If Dinwiddie remains out, I definitely think Cam Thomas at 7,200 is in play here. And then Ben Simmons at 7K, I kind of like as well. Ben Simmons was in some foul trouble last game. It didn't really limit his minutes too much. Ben Simmons is, like I said, I think I said this in my last video, he's fantasy relevant this season. He's actually been good for DFS. He's back to doing what he does, doing a little bit of everything, getting a little bit of points, some rebounds, getting some assists, getting some defensive stats. He's not going to go out there and, put up 40 points, but he'll get you probably double-digit points, double-digit rebounds, close to double-digit assists. He can get you a triple-double. It's 7K, point guard, small forward eligible. I definitely like Ben Simmons on the slate. He might be my favorite play on the Nets overall. If Spencer Dinwiddie does play, I don't mind going to him at 6,400. I think that price tag is a little low for Dinwiddie, assuming he is able to play here. But the rest of the Nets, Lonnie Walker we talked about, Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal, I'm not super interested in these guys where they're priced at. I know Dorian Finney-Smith has had some good games lately, but at 5,200, you're definitely paying the premium for him right now. I don't really want to go there at that salary. So that'll do it for the Nets side. Let's talk about the Bulls now. For this Bulls team, I've been saying it like this whole season, and I think it's still the same today. I know they haven't had like a bunch of huge games, but Vooch, LaVine, and DeRozan all still feel a little bit too cheap. Vooch is coming in at 7,500. I think this is a pretty good matchup for Vooch. He's going to get to face a Brooklyn team without Nick Claxton that's probably going to be undersized. And we've seen Vooch in the past be able to really take advantage of easy matchups. He had a good game against Indiana. I think that was an easy matchup for him. He had a good game against Dallas. I think that was an easy matchup for him. I think in spots like this against undersized teams, Vooch can really dominate. So of the big three from the Bulls, I think Vooch actually might be my favorite. But I don't mind going to LaVine either. LaVine's kind of been up and down this season, but we know LaVine's going to go out there and play a ton of minutes. He's going to shoot the ball a ton. He's fine at 7,400. DeMar DeRozan at 7,300. I don't mind either. If I had to rank the Bulls guys, I think Vooch would be number one for me, then DeRozan, then LaVine. But all three of those guys are definitely in play today. I think their price tags are all a little bit too low. And then Kobe White is the only other guy I think I would consider on Chicago. He's just had a decent role. I mean, he's not been great from a fantasy perspective this season, but he has been playing pretty good minutes. He should continue to start. He's okay at 5,100, but that'll do it for that game. Next game, Golden State and OKC. So for Golden State here, you got Steph Curry at 10,100. I think Curry is a fine pay-up option on the slate. He doesn't feel like a glaring option. I mean, I think he's priced correctly here. If I had to choose between like Curry or Giannis, I think that's kind of close. I think I would rather get up to Giannis over Curry, even with Giannis, not looking great this season. I still think I'd prefer Giannis straight up, but we know Curry has a massive ceiling. Don't think this is the greatest matchup for him, but he's in play at 10-1. Everyone else, though, on Golden State, I think is priced where they should be. I mean, there's no glaring options coming from this Golden State team besides maybe Curry. Even Curry, I think, is just kind of like just a fringe play. You're just looking at like GBP dart throws here. Klay Thompson, it feels priced right. Chris Paul's over 7K now. Don't really like him at that price tag, especially coming off the bench. Draymond is 6,200. Maybe you could go to Draymond, but his minutes have not been super high to start the season. We don't know yet if this is going to be the game where he finally sees like 30-plus minutes. Maybe it will be. Maybe it won't. It's 6,200. You kind of need Draymond to get those 30-plus minutes to be worth the salary. So, yeah, I don't really like much on Golden State today. And on the other side with OKC, there's definitely some guys we need to talk about for OKC because they are dealing with some injury news today. No Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, so SGA is out for this game. And without SGA, I mean, that's going to really help everyone on this team. Josh Giddey, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Lou Dort. I think all those guys get a little bit of a bump. Draftkings actually did a good job here. They priced these guys up, so they're not like standout plays today, but I still think at 8,400, Josh Giddey looks pretty good. Giddey, does get a big boost without SGA. We've seen Giddey have some really big games in the past whenever SGA has been out. 8,400, you're not getting him at a discount, but I still think Giddey is definitely in play today. 7,600 for Chet is fine. I would rather go to Giddey, but I think Chet's playable. I think Jalen Williams is probably my favorite of all the OKC guys, just when you factor in price tag. He is also another guy that gets a big boost without SGA, and last season, I know Jalen Williams had some really big games whenever SGA was out. I feel like he should be like 7K. I think 6,500 is a little too cheap for Jalen Williams here. I definitely like Jalen Williams on this slate. And even Lou Dort, I don't mind. I really don't ever play Lou Dort in DFS because I think his ceiling is pretty low. But he should get a nice bump in usage here with SGA off the floor at 5,600. He is a fine option to go to. And then we'll have to wait and see who starts in place of SGA. I think DraftKings is assuming it's going to be Carson Wallace. They priced him up to Cason Wallace, They priced him up to 5,400. So if Cason Wallace does start in place of SGA, I don't think he's really going to be a playable option because he's so expensive. If he was like 3K, I'd like him quite a bit. But at 5,400, I mean, you're not really getting him at a discount. Even if he starts, not super interested in him. Maybe they go a different route though. Maybe they start like Isaiah Joe. I know Isaiah Joe has started games in the past in place of SGA. If Isaiah Joe starts, he would be a viable option at 4,200. But I think that's it for OKC. I think we kind of talked about everything here. Definitely a team I want some exposure to today. because I think there is some value here a little bit with SGA out. Even though DraftKings, again, did do a good job pricing these guys up. But let's move on to the next game, Washington and Miami. So for Washington today, not the best spot here for the Wizards going on the road to face a good Miami team. This Wizards team, they're really bad. I mean, they've been a lot worse I thought they would be. I thought this team actually wouldn't be terrible, but they've been terrible this season. They've been getting blown out a lot. It's hard to get super excited about these Washington guys, but the good thing we do know about with this Washington team, the offense is running through mainly Kuzma, Poole. I mean, Tyus Jones has been okay, but we haven't seen a massive ceiling from Tyus Jones. Same with Denny Avdia. I think Kuzma at 7,800. If I had to play anyone on the Wizards, he'd probably be my favorite play. Only thing I worry about is just blowout potential. But if you look at Kuzma's game log this season, he's been good in their competitive games. The game against Memphis was competitive, and he had 44 DraftKings points. The game against Atlanta was kind of competitive, but kind of wasn't. Kuzma only played 25 minutes, but he was really productive in that time. Had 45 DK points. On a point per minute basis, Kuzma has been very good this season. He's been producing at a really high rate. It's just that Washington has gotten blown out in almost every game this season. So Kuzma's minutes have been down. If Washington can keep this game close, I think Kuzma does offer a big ceiling. So I definitely like Kuzma the most of the Washington guys. Jordan Poole has not been great from a fantasy perspective. I think a lot of people were pretty high on Jordan Poole coming into the season. I kind of was as well. He has not looked good so far this year. At 7,700, he feels priced correctly. Not a guy that I'm super interested in. And again, Denny Avdia, Tyus Jones, these guys don't have the highest ceilings. They're playable options, but not standout options. Daniel Gafford's questionable, so we'll have to monitor his status. If he does play here, not super interested in him in a really tough matchup against Miami. Miami's been one of the toughest matchups for centers. If Gafford does sit, we did see Mike Muscala start at center last game in place of Gafford. He played 22 minutes, had 17 DraftKings points. He'd be an okay value play at 3,200, but I would definitely temper expectations on Mike Muscala. He is not the greatest per minute producer, but I guess he would be a playable option. He is really cheap if he does start again. But that'll do it for the Washington side. Now, talking about Miami here, if we're looking at the Heat today, Jimmy Butler's probable, so he's expected to play. I definitely want some exposure to Miami. I mean, this is a great matchup. Washington's been playing super fast this season. Washington's been a horrible defensive team. Facing Washington is probably going to be one of the best matchups you can get. It seems like that's going to be the case. So I think somebody on Miami is going to do well today. The only issue is that these guys are all priced kind of where they should be. Jimmy's over 8K, Bam's over 8K, Hero's over 8K. I know Hero's kind of been the best of the three this season, but I still think Jimmy's my favorite if I'm going to play one of the Miami guys. Jimmy, we know, just has the biggest ceiling. He's typically the guy that's going to average the most points per minute as well. Although it hasn't been the case this season, I still think Jimmy's a guy that I would probably say is going to average more fantasy points per minute than Bam and Hero more times than not. But, I mean, Bam's in a great spot. Hero's in a good spot. Somebody from Miami, I think, is going to do well today. Picking who it's going to be is always tough. I think Jimmy's my favorite, then Bam, then Hero, but they're all playable. Lowry at 5,400, I'm not super interested in. The rest of Miami, I'm not super interested in, but I do like the big three there. Again, I think you just kind of pick your favorites. Somebody from Miami probably does well today. But let's move on to the next game. Two more games to hit, guys. So Dallas and Denver. Talking about Dallas first, we have some news to monitor here with Kyrie Irving's status listed as questionable. Irving's been out the last two games. We've seen a massive role for Luka Doncic, without Kyrie. Luka was kind of disappointing last game, but man, still played 40 minutes, had insane usage. Usage is going to be sky high for Luka if Kyrie's out again. But DraftKings has really priced up Luka now. He is 13K. It is going to be really tough to play Luka at this salary unless we just get a lot of value opening up. So, I don't want to say Luka's a bad play because Luka's never a bad play, but man, at 13K, you're going to need a 70-point game, I think, from Luka to really be worth rostering at this salary. So I do like Luka today, especially if Kyrie's out. If Kyrie plays, though, I have no interest in Luka at his salary. Kyrie, if he does play at 9,500, I'm not super interested in. I mean, I don't like much on Dallas today. Maybe Grant Williams and Josh Green you could consider if Kyrie's out again. But even those guys are starting to get priced up a little bit. Same with Derrick Jones Jr. He has started the last two games in place of Kyrie and been okay. He's probably the best value from Dallas if we assume Kyrie is out again. You could go back to DJJ. But yeah, I think that's really it for Dallas here. And on the other side, looking at Denver. So Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, they're both probable. They're expected to play today. Jokic coming in at 12K. I think Jokic is my favorite pay-up option on the slate at the moment. Love this matchup here against Dallas. I think Dallas is going to be a really good matchup for centers. They just don't have a good defensive center that can slow down anyone. Derek Lively's just not a good defender. I don't think he's a young rookie. He's not going to be able to stop Jokic here. So I think this is a matchup where Jokic can have a lot of success. I know he's expensive, but if we can find the salary to get him in, I do like Jokic quite a bit today. I think at 12K, he is worth that salary in this matchup. Jamal Murray is a fine play at 7,900. Aaron Gordon and MPJ are viable, but it's hard to get excited about really anyone else on Denver when Jokic and Murray are the two guys that just dominate usage and are taking up a lot of the possessions, especially Jokic. Jokic is just the clear top play on this Nuggets team. Everyone else, I think, is just kind of like secondary options. So that's it for Denver. Let's go ahead and talk about the last game of the night before we wrap up this video. So Memphis and Portland. We'll start off on the Memphis side here. And looking at the Grizzlies, the Grizzlies, they underperformed last game in a good matchup against the Jazz, but I like going back to these Grizzlies guys. I know their price tags are pretty high, but this is a really good matchup against Portland. Portland is another team that's just going to be horrible defensively this season. I think Desmond Bane is in a big bounce back spot here. It's tough to pay $8,800 for Bane. I mean, I think he's got the upside to pay off this price tag, but it's going to be hard to pay almost $9K for him. I still think he is playable, though, because the matchup is so good. I think the same could be said for Triple J. $8,500, tough price tag to pay, but I think the upside's there in this matchup. At almost $7K for Marcus Smart, I think I'll shy away from Marcus Smart, but he's actually been pretty good from a fantasy perspective this season. He has shown somewhat of a high ceiling. Smart's playable, but again, just it feels like you're paying the premium for him right now. Xavier Tillman, probably the most underpriced guy on Memphis. If we had to say who's the most underpriced, I think it's probably Tillman. I know Tillman, last game, obviously that was just a random outlier game against Utah, only played 14 minutes. I would expect him to get back to playing 30, 32 minutes here in a pretty good matchup. Don't mind Tillman at 5,900. But I think that's really it for Memphis. As Zaire Williams has been starting, just, not the highest upside player, low usage player, not a guy that I typically ever want to roster in DFS. Don't think I'm going to go there on this slate. But I could see playing Bane, Triple J, or Smart. I think the matchup's really good for these Memphis guys. I think somebody from Memphis probably does well today. But that'll do it for that side of the game. Let's talk about Portland side now. And for Portland, some big injury news here. Scoot Henderson already been ruled out for this game. Shaedon Sharpe is probable, though. He's expected to play. Don't know yet what the starting lineup's going to look like for Portland with Scoot out. They could just start Shaedon Sharpe at point guard and go Shaedon Sharpe, Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, Matisse Thybulle, and then maybe just start somebody else. Or they could just go with Malcolm Brogdon. I think Brogdon probably starts in place of Scoot, but maybe they want Brogdon off the bench. Either way, I think Brogdon's minutes are going to be pretty secure here. Even if he comes off the bench, I think Brogdon's going to play 26, 28 minutes. And if he starts, I think he probably gets 32, 34 minutes. Brogdon is a good point per minute player. The price tag has gotten up to $6,500, which is tough to pay, but I definitely think with Scoot out today, Brogdon is firmly in play. Shaedon Sharpe has been really good from a fantasy perspective. He is just playing a ton of minutes right now. I think his floor and ceiling is only higher now that Scoot is out. 7,300, you're paying the premium for him, but I think he's going to have a big role. He's going to play a ton. He is still viable to me, even at this price tag. DeAndre Ayton at 6,600, I'll probably pass on. Jeremy Grant, I don't mind at 6,400 if you want to go there. Not the best matchup for him, but I think he does pick up maybe some more usage here with Scoot out. And then we'll have to see, maybe somebody else starts. Maybe they start Skylar Mays. Maybe they start Toumani Camara. He's been pretty good from a fantasy perspective. If he starts, you can maybe consider him. I assume it's going to be Brogdon, but I could be wrong there. We'll have to see. This is the last game of the night, so don't know when we're going to get this Portland starting lineup, but I think there are going to be some plays we want to target from Portland here. Even though the price tags are coming up on these guys, I still think Sharpe, Brogdon, those guys look playable, especially with Scoot out today. But that'll do it for this game, or that game, and this 7-game slate for Friday night, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, appreciate you watching. Hit that like button if you guys enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And again, guys, be sure to go check out PrizePicks, linked down below in the description. Or just when you sign up for PrizePicks, make sure to use that promo code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up for PrizePicks with my promo code. And as always, I'll be sharing some plays I like for PrizePicks today. I'll either be making a video later tonight, depending on what the board looks like, or I'll make a video sometime on Friday. So check that out if you guys want to see some plays I like for PrizePicks. But good luck tonight, guys. Thanks for watching as always. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.